Hey, this is AJ. It's what is it? Shoot, I can't see anything without my glasses. Hold on. It is the 18th of June, and I've been out of town for a bit. You may be hearing in my voice here that I'm a little bit raspy. I've had COVID for the last week or so. My wife had it, and then I got it. So I'll kind of that's the aftermath. Let me explain kind of what we've been doing for the last couple of weeks. So if you've been following the channel for a while, I think I've been mentioning it, but I have a an 18-year-old son who's getting ready to head out to the Navy. So I kind of rescheduled some of my work, and I apologize. There's vehicles and stuff in the background that you're going to hear. But my son just graduated high school at the end of May. He's getting ready to go to Navy boot camp here next month. So as part of that, we wanted to kind of go on one last big family trip, kind of put a pause on the handyman business for a bit, and then kind of go on to vacation. And if you're one of my new subscribers, I got a bunch of new subscribers while I was gone. I think a result, some of that maybe because of the podcast that I was on. I was a recent guest on the Handyman Journey podcast. So thanks to Alan and sorry, I got bugs all over the place. Alan and Jason Call for having me on that podcast. I think once they publish that and put a link to my channel, I got a lot more subscribers joining. So if you're new, you're just joining the channel, you're like, hey, this guy hasn't put a video out since the podcast. So to go back to what I was saying earlier, uh, son graduated. We decided to head out of town. We had planned this for quite a bit. So I scheduled all my work up until the end of May. And then May 31st, we took off. We flew up to Seattle. We hung out in Seattle for a few days, then jumped on a cruise ship, went up to Alaska for about a week, came back down to Seattle, hung out for a few more days, kind of drove around a little bit because that's one of the areas that my son might get stationed at in the future. And I may have to reposition here because the bugs are getting pretty bad. So let me go on to location number two here, which is on the side of my house. I have because I have COVID. I'm trying to keep a distance from the rest of the family. So let me switch gears over to this. This is my bedroom. Luckily, I have a door on the side there that I can kind of just go in and out of. But anyway, we went up there. After we were done doing the cruise, we just kind of drove around Seattle area a little bit and just kind of enjoyed the last vacation that we're going to have as a family. Um, so that's one of the things in doing this business that you've heard me say kind of over and over again. And I apologize. I'm going to turn. It looks like really dark in here. Open up some windows and make things a little bit more brighter in here if I can. Let me turn on one light here. Sorry, you're getting a view of the bedroom right now. Too bad, so sad, right? But get a get a light going here. All right, there we go. Um, but anyway, yeah, part of the business is um, you know enjoying your time off, and that's the main reason I do this job is so that I can enjoy my time off. So you've been watching my videos for a bit. You know I'm a part-time handyman. You know I do this on the side, and you've heard me reference a few times that I do this for vacation money. I do. That's one reason. It's probably the the biggest carrot that I do it for. Because not that the money or this job exclusively pays for the vacation, but I feel like it does, right? When you work hard and you feel like the money that you spend goes a little bit longer. So I was happy to be able to do that with my family and spend that time with them, especially my oldest before he ships out. And when I say spend time, I mean like we were. I went the cheapest route. I got the interior cabin. It's four bunk beds, so I have a younger son at home as well. So it was four of us in a small little interior cabin, but we had a great time. I might, if anybody's interested, I could post some pictures on one of my future YouTube videos, just with some highlights and pictures of kind of where we were and what we did. Also on a side note, I guess if you've never done a trip to Alaska, it was fantastic. It was a great time. I had actually been up there previously, both with the military a little bit, and then I did some bike riding up there a long, long time ago. So I had been there. I knew how nice and beautiful it was, but the rest of my family hadn't been there. So we ate great. We saw all sorts of sights. I went all out. I got really good excursions kind of everywhere we went. So I was pretty happy about that as well. But fast forward, right? We come back. I had paused almost all of my work. I had a few jobs lined up for this week, but I came back last week, and my wife was battling with COVID, and so we didn't know it. We just thought she was sick at the time, but then she tested positive for COVID. And then all of a sudden and I test positive for COVID. So she gets better and I went downhill a little bit. Nothing bad. This is maybe my third time getting it. So just body aches. The bigger concern is getting anybody in the house infected, and catching it. So we're just trying to avoid that. But as a result of that, out of an abundance of caution, I first of all I didn't make any YouTube videos because my voice maybe sounds a little raspy still. It was worse the last couple of days, so I didn't really want to put that kind of energy out on YouTube. And some of the stuff I put out is dry enough already, right? So if I got to do it with this voice, it's going to make it even worse. Um, but yeah, so that's what's been going on. If you like I said, if you're curious, if you're new to the channel and you're wondering, hey, this guy just put out a podcast and now I don't see him, what's going on? And if you're, just dialing in right now, I don't even know if I can tell how many people are on here right now. Okay, I got two people, so maybe my maybe my wife's watching in the other room, or if somebody else wants to chat in and say your name, I appreciate it. But yeah, that's it. In terms of the handyman business, I had to reschedule the jobs that I had for this week, and I had purposely left. I got a couple other events coming on with the family over the next couple of weeks too, so I didn't schedule any work until like I think even later July. I've been getting a ton of inquiries, and I've been sending them all over to my friend Paul, who runs PJP Handyman in San Antonio. And that's a good point. If you're a handyman, you're watching this, and if you're like me, if you get way more work than hey Jeff, thanks for joining. I appreciate it. Um, but if you're like me, you get way more work than you can handle. And the reason I get way more work than I can handle is because I limit my how much work I do. But always have off ramps, right? Because I want to maintain my reputation and my brand. So when people are calling me like, "Man, this guy's never available," I like to push whoever's reaching out to me over to somebody else that I would feel comfortable working in my own house. So I do that. I do that a lot. To be honest with you, I do that for jobs I don't want to do. I do it for when I'm busy. I've actually thought about, man, maybe I could just make this my job. Maybe I could just get the jobs and send them over to other people. But then there's that if you do this kind of business, uh, there's always that hesitation that people aren't going to do it as well as you do it, and that's people won't do it the same way you do it. Doesn't mean they won't do it better or to the same standard, but they'll do it different. And we as just as human beings, we have a hard time with that with letting other people kind of do that kind of work. So when I think about if I were to just do that as a business, right? If I were just to get leads and send them over to place, and I always have to be, my name would still be there, right? I'd be like, hey, you sent this guy over and he was terrible. Like, well, like he's not me, right? Yeah, but why'd you recommend him? And when I run those things through my mind, I already talk myself out of it. So it's funny because the last couple of days I've been, isolated, sitting in these rooms, thinking about my longer term play in the handyman space. Like, what am I going to do, right? I do enjoy doing the work, but at some point I'll stop doing the work, in my late 50s and 60s, but I still want to be involved in it, right? So how do I stay involved in it, right? And I have all these ideas that run through my head, right? I was messing around with creating an app this morning. I was like, well, maybe I can make my own CRM app. And I was playing around, and I could definitely make an app, but would it be as good as some of the apps that are out there that Markate and Java are making? No. So do I want to put my name on that? Not really. And then I look at the pain points that a lot of the handymen have. Like, okay, well, let me solve some of these pain points. What do other people have? What do I have? Uh, Pricing and coming up with estimates is always one. So I've toyed around with the idea, and these are all free ideas. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're listening to this, take notes if you want to run with any of these ideas. They're all $1 million ideas as long as you put all the work in and make $1 million on them. But some of the other ideas that you think about it is the quick estimating. Actually, right before I jumped on here, I had just posted a response to somebody on Facebook. I normally don't answer the "Hey, what would you guys charge for this kind of job?" question, but since I've been using AI a lot lately, I like to demonstrate the power of helping yourself. Teach a man to fish, he eats for the rest of his life. And it's the same thing with some of this AI stuff. And I'm going to sidetrack for a minute to another analogy of some of the best advice that I had ever gotten from anybody. I When I first started working in my day job, I was eager and I was curious and I was trying to learn a bunch of stuff. Good news and bad news for me. Good news is I had a guy in front of me that had been doing this kind of work for like 30, 40 years, right? Bad news, he was a little salty, right? Retired Navy senior chief. So I got to a limit where I had asked this guy enough questions. So every day I was like, "Hey Ben, can I ask you Ben?" And looking back on it, it's pretty obvious how needy I was at that time. But he turned around to me one day and he goes, "Open up the damn book, read it, and figure it out yourself. Stop bothering me." And I was like pissed off when he said that. And I was like, "Man, what a jerk!" So who woke up on the wrong side of the bed, but I reflected on it. I was like, he's absolutely right. Like, if you want to know anything in this world, if you want to do anything in this world, you got to put the effort into it. And that's something that's always stuck with me. And I'm thankful for Ben for for laying into me. I wish more people would lay into to people sometimes, especially when they need it, because it's a pretty big deal. Um, but Forgot where I was going with that statement, but it's important to kind of have those moments in your life to for somebody to kind of check you and to look into kind of keeping you straight. In terms of other things, what is my path forward for the Handyman channel? So I had started a series called The Simple Path to Handyman, where I had broken out this kind of outline, and I talked about this outline in the recent podcast that I was on about um, there's building blocks to running a handyman business or really running any business. But since I have a handyman channel and a handyman business, I speak more directly to that. But when I look at my business and what I do, I look at it as a repeatable process that happens over and over and over again. And that repeatable process is somebody reaches out to me, and I apologize, I got pop-ups popping up on my computer. But I got somebody reaching out to me for an inquiry. Hey, I have a question. I'm looking for an estimate. That turns into me creating an estimate for them. Turns into them either accepting or rejecting the estimate. If that's the case, and that kind of goes back to square one. Or if they accept the estimate, I convert it into a work order. I schedule that work order. I show up to complete that work as per the schedule. I invoice, I follow up, and then the process repeats it, right? So that's my business. My business is doing that as many times as I can. Not as, well, doing that is as efficient as I can for as much money as I can, right? That's the handyman business in a nutshell. That's the whole secret, right? That's it. I'm done. But how do you do that, or how do you do that consistently over and over again? Well, people do that using manual processes, right? Notepads, pen and paper. They're using CRM systems. They're using Google Sheets. They're doing whatever. But they're man, this thing is killing me. I got this thing that just keeps popping up. I'm going to move it over to the side here. But we all go through that in our business. We just keep going through that process of these inquiries all the way to invoice, inquiries to invoice. So as soon as you know what your flow looks like and how you execute that from in terms of software or manual systems, that's step one, right? Understand what that is, those boxes. How do you do it? Document it if you need to, and that becomes your core process to go over and over again. But how do you support that process? How do you make that process easier? And then each of those processes have sub processes. So I go back to the inquiry. In order for somebody to reach out to me, they have to know about me, and that's where marketing comes in, right? So you have to have presence on social media and Google and all these different things. So I have all these sub processes that are feeding up to the marketing process. Then I have processes that are feeding into estimating, home wise, and other heuristics or methods that I use to do estimating. And then as you go down the line for invoicing, all those things are built up with other sub processes that are supporting maybe some of those horizontal processes that I talked about. And then underneath that, you have a layer that kind of supports everything. So you have tax strategy and banking and bookkeeping, mileage tracking, legal compliance, all this other stuff, right? So all that to say that my series of videos that I've been creating, the Simple Path to Handyman, was kind of building that out, right? I think I got to video 5, and it's pretty dry and boring as I start to build this out. But I'm not getting a whole lot of views, not getting a whole lot of love on those videos, which tells me that people aren't really interested in that, um, or or they haven't found it. Right? I'm not really sure yet. You never know with this YouTube stuff if you're meeting the mark or not. Right? Some people just bombard you with content, but I try to listen to what the audience is looking for. I do know for a fact that the audience wants videos on how to make a killing in handyman stuff, right? Because my videos that talk about making $1,000 a day, $200 a day, those get the most views, those get the most likes, the comments, and all 9 yards. But I don't want to, lull people into the belief that that's going to happen every day, right? And you could probably make that happen if that's what I did every day. If I made that happen every day, I'd make videos about that. But since I don't do that every day, I don't strive for that every day. I stopped making videos on that, even though I know if I continue to make those videos, I could monetize this channel, which is currently unmonetized, right? I do all this stuff and I don't get any money for it. Maybe in the future, right, at some point, some of the stuff I'm doing will pay off, and that's really the main reason I do this channel. Is I've been a consumer of YouTube in various forms for forever, right? Just I need to fix my car, I need to change this, I need to do that, whatever it may be. Half the stuff I probably learned as a handyman, I learned from watching, Paul Peck teach me how to do drywall, or Sal, the tile guy, teaching me some of the tile stuff. Um, so when I look at all that stuff and I learned so much, it was my time to give back, and I feel like my gift is a strong word, but my area to kind of give back is in this process stuff, even though it's dry and it can be boring. I know it is resonating with some people, especially newer folks that are trying to get off the ground and understand how to run the business. Having a more clear, exactly how do you do it? Like those videos aren't, there's not a lot of those videos out there, right? How do you set this up? How do you estimate? How do you do these other types of things? So I try to create videos on that. And my Simple Path to Handyman video series that I put out, I start putting together, is walking through that framework that I just talked about, the horizontal process and all those other processes. So I will continue that in my future videos. I'll probably continue the series, even though I don't think I'll get a lot of views and love on that stuff. I feel like it's my obligation to put that out in the world. So I'll finish up with that. And then I'll get back to, I've been getting a lot of comments, especially about my Mark 8 content. So I'll be putting out some more videos on Mark8 functionality, and then maybe some other areas that people are asking me. I'm getting messages now, not left and right, but from multiple areas, right? People reaching out to me on Facebook and YouTube comments. Somebody reached out to me at Nextdoor the other day. Um, so keep, that's how that keeps me going in this stuff, right? So if you got questions, feel free to reach out and let me know what your questions may be, because I really enjoy making this stuff, and I enjoy more if I know that I'm helping people where they are and giving you the information that you need. So I appreciate that. Anyway, I'm not going to make this a super long live video. I just want to reach out, let everybody know that I'm alive. I'm getting over COVID, and spending time with my family and my son before he ships out to the Navy next month. So I'll probably jump back on some of the videos in that series that I just mentioned in the next few days, and I'll pop a few out, but then I'll take a break again for a little bit, and then I'll pick it back up after my son takes off. Anyway, appreciate everybody watching. Jeff, thanks for being the my support during this. I really appreciate it, and I will catch you later. Thank you. Bye bye.